Hello. Good afternoon to all of you. Bonjour. I'm in. I'm in. I'm in Berlin, in Germany. Berlin, in Starbucks, because I find a better internet. So it's much better, I think. Because when you walk around the street, if it's a warm weather, of course it would be nice to take you around. But then, when it's a cold weather, then it's freezing cold. Yeah. I hope that everybody's having a good weekend. I'm coming back to Hawaii probably on the during August, around that time. Yeah. Robert. So in 15 minutes, I will start with Q&A. 15 or 10 minutes. Okay, we let people come because right now it's 4 o'clock in Germany. So maybe 5 minutes later. We will do Q&A. I think that would be much better. Course in Germany? No, not this time, because I'm still, I'm kind of in a retreat, in a recovery time, and I think it's much better like that, because when you travel a lot everywhere and every time, it takes a lot, in your life, in terms of going here and there, and everybody expect you to see fresh and everything. It's not so simple as it seems. So there's a one person, says Linda, her loved one passed away, and I will make a prayer for you a little bit later. Hello from Madrid, Spain. Hello, Kalu. I'm in Vietnam, and there are so many people who respect you, really want to see you today. Are you going to visit Vietnam one day? This time I will be in Thailand for 5 days retreat in Chiang Mai. So you can tell your friends, because I will be in Chiang Mai this time, because Vietnam is not far away. But to visit Vietnam, I will see in the future. It depends on the communication and, Am I coming to New York this year? I will see. I cannot decide everything, because the United States is a very big country, so you can't really just expect me to be there all of a sudden. Of course, that is my wish, but then again, I'm going to Thailand on the end of this month because we have a retreat. It's a it's a protected retreat, so it's like starting on the around the 20s, around 26 to 30. So during that time we are going to do some kind of retreat with some students from Asia and from other part of the world. Yeah, because when you do in Hong Kong or in other places, it's quite expensive for the people to participate and to fly over. So I'm just trying to make it convenient for the people to participate because people work very hard in their life and they want to find a little bit of time to do some retreat, and if that has to pay a lot of money, and then there's no different from doing a rock concert, isn't it? So, well, the purpose of doing in Chiang Mai is that, convenient for the flight and also safety, and also to be, a little bit cost efficient for the people and making a meaningful retreat as well, because when you have to fly certain Asian countries, it's very expensive for people, for ordinary people, you know. So that's one of the reasons. Okay. So I will wait 2 more minutes and then have a Starbucks coffee. Oh. Berlin is a nice place to visit. Yes, because it's not expensive as other tourist cities in Europe. And sometimes at certain places are unreasonably expensive. So, Berlin you can find a little bit more cheaper places. Yeah. So we are going to start now. So anybody have a question? Because Tom, yes, because we're just letting people come. Otherwise if I start right away, then it's a little bit like disrespectful for the people. I know internet is a different world, but to be a little bit more respectful for the people to participate, it would be nice. So, we can start with the question. Wow, Jongsa Kimbo. That's a nice name. Why ego is a root of suffering? Okay, so I'm going to explain to you, Jongsa Kimbola. Ego is not the root of suffering, I believe. I think lack of clarity. We just put so many different names on our emotion, and that itself is an illusion. Because when you put so many names without having any sense of clarity of the root of suffering, and then saying that, oh, everything is suffering is coming from ego, that is basically saying that I can fly over the building because I have understood the meaning of gravity. You can't, right? So therefore, I think having a clear concept of that the ego is the root of suffering, yes, but then again I think that yourself investigating even with more further detail, I think that is far more important than saying that everything is suffering or the ego is a root of suffering. I think first understanding of ourselves that we must have is that, the pride. pride and so many different attachment that we are having a lack of clarity. We are very good with memorizing, but the memorizing in our mind with our knowledge is not a realization through your state of mind. So, therefore, to have a sense of clarity is very important. To have a sense of clarity, you must be first patient and meditate and analyze your mind thoroughly, and then truly seeing the ego is the root of suffering. When you have that clear realization to the bottom of your heart, and then you will have no pride whatsoever. All the animal will become your friends, and all the concrete illusion will become simply a non-attachment appearances. So that's that. So just simply by saying the ego is the root of suffering, that is good in terms of intellectual perspective, but with a thorough investigation by yourself, and step by step with the meditation and with the intellectual combined together, and starting with recognition to your own pride and dissolving it gradually. And if you're able to clearly see the root of suffering is the ego, when you clearly see that, then you have no time to ask for question about, oh, I really think the ego is the root of suffering. We will not have time for that, because then the reality of suffering is overwhelming into our face, and then you will have only one dedication, and that is simply being impatient to be liberated from the sea of samsara and wanting to do the dharma practice, or wanting to practice any kind of path of truth. So that will be the not just simply a reflection, but also having a sense of true liberation in that very moment. But the true liberation initiates all the way, gradually at the end, isn't it? Yeah. So let me check the question, because you are very welcome, Zongsa Kyombola. Okay, so there's Kiriko Kazama. I hope I'm spelling the name correctly. Would it be possible to see your schedule online in advance so we can study with you for sure annually? Particularly love to learn generalization, completion today. In this opportunity, can you please teach us a visualization? Okay, there's three questions you have asked. First is that you want to practice, and the second is that you want to practice with me, according to my schedule. I would recommend that just have a sense of openness to all the great master. I think that's the first principle we have to add. Don't have the sectarian perspective, but don't also have a mentality mixing everything together. Have a sense of content when it comes to practice. I think that is a very important principle in the beginning. If you're unable to be content and appreciate with your practice in the beginning, then it's a very irrelevant to be lost. So I think it's very important for you to have a sense of openness to all the great master. Don't just focus and say, hey, I like how Kalu Rinpoche speaks, I like the way he talks on the internet, and therefore I want to learn from him. Don't fall into that, just take your time to learn from all the great masters and the teachings through online, offline, whatever it may be. So you take your time and focus on the shamatha and vipassana practice, and that is something prioritized by all the great masters of nowadays, and also in the past, and also in the time of the Lord Buddha. So focus on the root and the principle with that established as a foundation. Okay? So, let me go with the. Okay, so does motivation greatly influence a stability in view? I think. I think the most important question we have to ask is that when it comes to motivation, it's something very, how do I say, it's something very big topic. So I don't know what you mean. So I'm assuming that you are talking in a very Buddhist or spiritual method of motivation. So motivation, of course, it is good, but combining the motivation with the sense of clarity is very important. If you clearly have a motivation, like an ignorant person has a motivation, intelligent person has a motivation, you know. So both will have a sense of hope, to have a sense of stability. But then it doesn't mean that it is absolute stability, isn't it? If your mind is constantly under the influence of many different attraction, and then motivation is something and that all the individual has it, you know. Wanting to have a sense of stability, that motivation, everybody has it. But ourselves, holding into the foundation and the principle of the Lord Buddha first, and then with that sense of guidance of motivation, not a motivation to focus on ourselves only, but to others, as a projection of mind, and also to cultivate a sense of openness to ourselves and to others, to have a minimum, you know, uh, negativity, and to have more possibility to overcome all the negativity. So that's that. Okay. Thank you very much. So, what is the next question? I'm waiting for the next question. Hello. Okay, so there's a one person. Okay, so there's a one person who is asking question. Yeah, about the person who asked, whether I will give a further empowerment in the future about the Shampalini. Well, that depends, because empowerment is something that I view as a very sacred and very important steps for the individual. And I do not think it is a public ceremony project. I believe the empowerment has its own purpose, and that purpose is to be recognize the individual capacity and then giving the empowerment gradually. Because nowadays what happens is that everybody is so rushed into themselves to give a name, to get a name of Kempo, and then everybody is so rushed to become I'm a lineage holder and I'm giving empowerment and I'm allowed to give empowerment, and they're under this kind of a terrible mindset of box, that forget about liberating other people. They themselves, they're under the, like a square-minded box. So then that kind of mindset I do not like to follow, because the meaning of empowerment, like my guru said, is to, you know, like Guru Vajradhara, Siddha Rinpoche said, the meaning of empowerment is to empower our mind to liberate ourselves from the sea of samsara. That's the meaning of empowerment, not some kind of a short-sighted perspective, right? So therefore, the more you show respect with your genuine heart, the more positivity it will have a sense of gathering by itself, But if you have a perspective towards the empowerment like a token, then it will be remain as a token, isn't it? Why realization does not last on my mind? Well, the realization does not last because it is not a realization. There is a difference between realization and having a sense of positivity experience. In Tibetan, we say nyam, like this person has a very good sense of combine of positivity, sense of positivity. Sense of positivity and that we see in our mind, that we see in our daily life, sense of attitude changes. These are temporary, it's not really a realization. So there's a difference between the real realization and glimpse of positivity. So there's a distinguishing, you have to distinguish. If you cannot distinguish between the realization and the glimpse of positivity that you experience, then you are far more vulnerable to be lost into different kind of obstacles. So therefore, regardless of positivity sign or whatever it can be, most important is you have a continuity with your practice, and then to speak with your instructor as much as you can. Okay, so I'm moving to the next question. Okay. Where you live? Dashitoshi is asking me a question. Where do I live? I live everywhere. I live mainly in Asia and partially in Europe and partially in North America. So nowadays with communication, everything can be managed abroad. Thank you. So, next question. Hello. Okay. So there's a question. Hello, Rinpoche. I'm from Bhutan. When I do good to others, they don't do good to me. Why is that? La. Why is that so? Well, basically, that's why we call the cycle of suffering, isn't it? If there is no such as a cycle of suffering based on our illusion and ignorance, and then why we need Buddhism in the first place? Why we need the teachings of the Lord Buddha in the first place, isn't it? So, therefore, the teachings of the Lord Buddha, the teachings of the truth is there because it has its purpose, and the purpose itself is the truth, isn't it? So, therefore, people who are good to us, who are not good to us, and that is a reality that we will face at all times in our life. But it does not mean that you have to throw yourself away, all your positive qualities, isn't it? Everybody has a capacity to become the worst human being in the world, and also be, they also have a capacity to become the best human being in the world, and to contribute towards the society, isn't it? So, so I think the most important when we are having difficulties with the closer interaction, and then trying to focus on the long-term perspective, how you want to maintain yourself in terms of qualities of mind. The definition of the human being, comes with the principle and a clear understanding. That clear understanding comes with the protection towards your own, how do I say, sense of realization. So therefore, Whenever you are having a short term, like a sense of discomfort, a sense of anger, always look at least one day ahead. See that, if this is committed in a wrongdoing, wrong speech, wrong action, and then next day I will, 99% I will regret. 1% on the side of my arrogance will win. 99% of my side I will regret. So therefore, such wrong action should be minimized, and then having a sense of meditation and combined together. I think that is very important. Very, very important. People think being good is something they go to the temple and make a prayer, and when they go outside, they have the right to do what they want. So that is not Buddhism. That is not the individual who defined spiritual practitioner. Spiritual practitioner is defined by being a loser, winner, but yet at the same time not losing the sense of purity in our mind. That is the most important. That is my principle. There's many things in life that goes on in a good way. There's many things that they can go in a right way, but the right way also gives a wrong way influence in terms of arrogant, sense of self-attachment, sense of pride also. So remaining pure intention to your heart is very important. That's how you can protect yourself. So that's that. So, will you visit Brazil? Yes, I will visit Brazil in May. I think May. I'll be there. What is the meaning of Tseden Dorji? Tseden means, longevity, permanent, and the permanent example as the Vajra. And the Vajra symbolizes permanent because itself is in the essence of the emptiness itself. That's why it is permanent. Okay? Rinpoche, what is the best way to let go of ego clinging? The best way of let go of your ego clinging is be patient. Because there's many people who say, oh, you want to dissolve your negativity, do this practice, do that practice. And everybody is like, it's like, you joined a gym membership club, everybody is giving you suggestions, like saying, oh, you must do this, you must do that, that will help you, that will help you, this will help you. And yet, at the same time, we have lost our root and foundation. To maintain with the root and foundation, you must have a sense of clarity, isn't it? So first, to dissolve the ego clinging, first recognize the pride. Then go towards the direction of seeing the reality of suffering. But when you see the reality of suffering, and then when you look at the reality of suffering, you will always come back to yourself. There's no other journey that you can go on. There's always a journey that ends with yourself. When you start to reflect, when you start to meditate, and you see external things, also in internal things, right? And then once that is started, and then you will start to have a sense of, when you go under the water, when you come out after swimming, and then you feel like, kind of a breath of fresh air, isn't it? So that's what you will have. That will be the expression you will get, to yourself. And then, yet, at that moment, you don't tell yourself that, oh, I have recognized my ego. Oh, I have realized something that I have not experienced before. Oh, I must have reached somewhere in a higher, in terms of sutra practice, in terms of tantra practice. Oh, and then praising yourself, and then telling yourself, oh, now I think I'm a teacher. Oh, now I think I can make my own image. The moment you tell yourself that you are a teacher, you're lost. So never tell yourself that you're a teacher. And that's how I protect myself. So therefore, ego clinging, there's a certain principle that you need to apply. according to your own investigation. And then based on that, then you apply your own discipline gradually. I think that is very important. Don't follow the discipline of other people. Follow your own discipline with your own investigation, with your own sense of clarity. Then the ego clinging will dissolve, and when it starts to get dissolved, then you will have a sense of sadness and happiness combined together, of realizing it, the truth, and knowing there's some more journey to go, and knowing that people around you do not have that sense of clarity, sense of joy and sense of sadness will combine together. And then slowly you have a capacity to develop such quality to benefit others, isn't it? So let's go to oh my god. Okay, I didn't check. Okay. So there is the next question. You cannot hear me? Okay, so I am trying to find the question. How to etc. How to learn acceptance. How to learn to be accepted when you're going through suffering. Well, to have a sense of acceptance, when you have a sense of suffering, that will be very difficult in the beginning, and also in the middle, also at the end. So therefore, a sense of meditation practice in daily basis, that is very important. Okay? I'm so sorry. Let me remind you, I'm in Starbucks, so it is very obvious that it will be loud. Okay, so Rinpoche, do you know how many people you make happy with this communication? Look at this, I'm rejoicing. We are all happy. Thank you. Okay, thank you. So there's one question. There's one person asking question: how to understand karma and fate? For example, if a person does something bad, I'm going to find a way to stop him from hurting others, or I just watch. Because this is his fate. He will meet his fate to give him his punishment. Oh my. How to understand karma and fate? Okay. If a person does something bad, I'm going to find a way to stop him from hurting others, or I just watch. Because this is his fate. He will meet his fate. I think that whoever is trying to do a wrongdoing, it is obligated to remind them and to give them a reflection of their wrongdoing. If it cannot be verbally, then you have to give them some different reflection so that they can reflect on themselves. Then we have a duty to protect anybody from their wrongdoing. Even it hurts them, you have to, temporarily, even it hurts them temporarily, you must, in order to help them in the long term, in order to make them stronger and better, But such necessary step comes with your wisdom, isn't it? You cannot just say, hey, I'm doing for this greater good, greater good, greater good. Greater good is not something you can play along with the people's life, isn't it? So sometimes the greater good to protect people, you have to make sense sometimes. Sometimes you have to be patient. So therefore, in order to help other people, at least try to give them some kind of a positive reflection. If you know that they are doing something wrong, or if they are going to commit some such wrongdoing, right? Don't give the idea to other people of greater good. It will even harm more. So, when you are Buddha, then you can think about greater good. But ordinary people like ourselves, such as the greater good, has to distance. And slowly, slowly, when our wisdom develops, the greater good, knowledge and the possibility and the wisdom arises by itself. Yeah. I'm so sorry. Maybe tomorrow I will try to walk around so that you guys can have a better sound. Because I was planning to go outside and do a live streaming, but then outside is raining, so. 고수상보라. 네. So, uh, okay, next question. Tom, I have answered to you many times, so we give a chance to other people, maybe? Okay. So, dear Rinpoche, what is the meaning of reason? What? Sorry. Where am I? I'm in. Okay, just. Rinpoche, how to practice dharma in a busy workplace? I think you shouldn't do such practice in a busy workplace in the beginning. I think when you wake up, you know, after you brush your teeth, then just simply try to meditate for a few minutes, you know. And then I think that is important in the beginning. Don't try to do this kind of Dharma is part of life. The life is part of Dharma. Everything is together. Don't have this kind of crazy idea in your mind in the beginning. Just try to focus on to, even it's 10 minutes, even it's 5 minutes, in the morning practice or in the evening practice. Just try to focus that. And I'm sure we have that time. I'm sure. So, so there's a. Okay. When can you visit Vietnam? I have no idea when I will be in Vietnam. And like I said, I will be in that Thailand retreat for 5 days. So you are welcome to be there. Okay, how about I put my mic in my lips so that you can hear better? Can you dissolve into rainbow light? I think you should stop reading Lord of the Rings. Who am I? I am Kalu, that's my name. So, since I was a little boy, I was raised in the monastery. And then I went to 3 years retreat. Then I start traveling around the world, looking after the Dharma centers and people. So here I am, talking to you in Starbucks with all of you. So, how long it has been since I've been talking? Just half an hour. My God. We will continue for another 10 minutes. So if you do have any question, we will continue for another 10 minutes. We started at 4 o'clock. And now it's 4:35. And I will continue for another 10 minutes. You know why I want to do this short live streaming? Because it's for free. I need to make money. I cannot do live teaching free. I'm just joking. Okay, so just 10 minutes this time, and tomorrow I will do, I will tell you later, okay? So let's focus on to one or two questions. Let's focus into a one or two question. So, okay? So that at least we will use does meditation help on mental health? From my understanding about mental health, people who has difficulties with the mental health. I think it depends on the different category of individual who has mental issues, because mental issues is not something small and something that we can ignore or something that can include so easily, you know. So, and therefore, I think with the basic people with the mental difficulties, of course, it will help. But those who are completely going through a difficult time, I have not done such experiment with the meditation practice with them. But there is such scientists, professors, and starting with His Holiness Dalai Lama, who talks about the science and meditation combined together, So, and I'm sure it is helpful, because that's what His Holiness says, His Holiness Dalai Lama says that, you know, making a dharma practice and the studies combined with the science, with the intellectual knowledge, and also with the meditation combined together. And he emphasized that so many times around the world, So I think we should follow that. What Kalu Rinpoche said doesn't matter, but what he says does matter. And I'm sure it is a meaningful step forward to look into, ourselves. Okay. Do you come to Belgium this year, dear Kalu? I have no idea. So, will you come over to Seattle? No, I have no idea. So, where's the next question? How to help a friend who is suffering from depression and suicidal thoughts. Talking to them about mind works easier and said and done. It's a chemical imbalance in the brain. I think those people who are going through a depression, don't try to teach them anything, because I've been through a depression and I know what it's like. When you're depressed, you just don't want to talk with anybody. You want to isolate yourself. You feel like nobody understands you, and that's the cause of depression. So I think it's people who are going through a depression. I think being with them and listening to them, that's the most important medicine first. And then, if they are looking to, in a sense of improvement, then you give them a sense of meditation guideline, like a shamatha and vipassana practice, And I think it's better. But don't try to teach them many things just because they are in a helpless situation. When they are going through a difficult time, just be there. If they want to talk, listen. If they want to improve themselves, meditate together. Be patient. You know, the genuine quality of being a spiritual teacher is being patient. So if you could be a patient to the person you love, you know, like your follower, a student from the genuine way, then then it will help no matter what. It doesn't matter over time. Okay, so we have 7 minutes more. Okay, Sonam Droma, why is genuine devotion always connected to our ego to emptiness? So I would say to you, I think first, you know, clear understanding we must have is that, okay, first most important understanding that we must have is that there's a sense of rejoice and sense of being genuine, and there's a sense of being positively calm and being in joy and so on, and joyous mood, and these are not devotion. Crying and having tears and screaming with the prayers, that is not devotion. Everybody can do that. Parrot can do that. Parrot cannot cry, but they can repeat after you. The meaning of the true devotion is that, uh, in that very moment, you are uplifted. You are, uh, you are in a sense of joy, and a sense of pure motivation, and sense of uplifting, and combined together with a sense of clarity. That is the meaning of devotion. And when you have such an incredible experience and that quality, not just a glimpse, but sense of continuity with the development of your practice, and then the teachings of our great master, you know, becomes becomes much more simplified, because our distraction is much more subtle and much more minimum compared to the before. And therefore, person who can be so proud and yet saying that I have a pure devotion, it's like a fire and water mixing together. A person who has a pure devotion, a pure devotion, does not have a pride. When you have the pure devotion, it's not simply crying and praying. The method and the purpose of having a pure devotion is to recognize the nature of the mind, isn't it? Yeah. Dear Karmachi, could you... So, there's a person who asks, what is my dharma practice, personal, what is my favorite? Well, first of all, I do not have a favorite. What I do have is a sense of combined meaningful practice at the end of my retreat, and that is a Cheresic practice and also Siksamaka practice, because it sends out a very message of Vardo, the message of meaning of impermanence, and sends the message of love and compassion, and it makes sense to me. So these are the two preferences. And let's not forget the Buddha Shakyamuni. So, please come to Australia. Okay, in the future, so really. So one last question, and then we will close the session for today. Okay. Sorry. So Okay, so let's just focus into one question instead of sending me stickers of making prostration, you know. Actually, you know, that is not a prostration, that looks like prostration, that is a high five. So basically you've been sending lots of high five, which is good. I don't mind at all. Why should I? Okay, one last question. In Bhutan, soon, just really. Okay, so let's focus on one last question, okay? After this, I have to go to the supermarket, buy some vegetables. Rinpoche, okay, now I have too many questions. Ah, so, okay, one second. I'm reading the question. What is impermanence? What is the meaning of permanence? Opposite of that. Meaning of impermanence means everything is constantly in change. You know, whatever you think there is a present, it's already past. Whatever you're thinking about the future, that is also past. You know? When you think, you know, when you think about present, that is also past. And only present that you can experience is through meditation, with a sense of clarity. Where will you be in Chiang Mai? In Chiang Mai, there's some kind of a resort, you know, and we are going to do the 5 days 6 hour Mahakala retreat, and we're going to do it, you know, again and again, but this time is in Chiang Mai. And the reason is that convenient for the people to fly over, because other countries is either it's too expensive or either they have to take too many domestic or international flights, you know. So that's that. You can check into the website, sepalishampa.org. You can check and you can check to the detail as well. That's up to you. Anyways, I'm really hungry and I have to buy some vegetables, some food, some nogama sauce, which is very important. Okay. So tomorrow we will do this at what? Between 3:30 and 4 o'clock. Between 3:30 and 4 o'clock, we will do this live. Okay, tomorrow. Because for Asia, this is right time because it's in the evening and people go back to their office, go back to their home. So 4 o'clock in European time for 1 hour. Okay, so that's that. And have a good evening to all of you, and have a good weekend to all of you. And thank you very much for being here and sending so much love and likes. And thank you for being here, and thank you for all the meaningful portion that helps other people. Have a good night.